1. Hopefully now live. Welcome to this week's Come Follow Me, Studying with the Convert, Doctrine and Covenants, section 115 through 120. His sacrifice shall be more sacred unto me than his increase. What if heaven doesn't measure us by our increase, but by our sacrifice? When I first read Doctrine and Covenants, section 117, verse 13, I'm going to pull that up. Quote, his sacrifice shall be more sacred unto me than his increase. I paused. And why did I pause? Because it hit me so strong. And I'm going to get into that. How could God value sacrifice more than result? But as I dug deeper, I realized this principle is woven in all throughout the Bible and Doctrine and Covenants. Stay with me because just in a few minutes, I'll show you how this teaching connects the saints in far west Missouri to widow at the temple, or even, oh gosh, I'm going to mess this name up, excuse me. It's Abraham on Mount Moriah. Okay, historical setting. This revelation were given in 1838 when the church was committed to build far west Missouri, and it established a temple there. Now, here's the details most people miss. Far west was barely designated as a new, quote, center place of Zion after independence was lost. The saints even dedicated the temple site with a cornerstone. Built the temple itself was never, although the temple itself was never built, and yet the Lord still counted their efforts as sacred. This reminds me in Hebrews chapter 11, chapter 11, where Paul writes about heroes of faith who died in faith, not having received the promise, but having seen them. And that to me is what I'm reminded of when I take away this section of Doctrine and Covenants. Their offering of faith, unfinished as it was, still pleased God. He sees our efforts. I'm coming to you from the primary room today because actually the nursery, excuse me, today because the Relief Society is being taken with the self-reliance course, and there's things happening all around the buildings. I said, you know what? I don't care if I'm in the nursery. It's not about where I'm coming to, but God sees our intent. In Doctrine and Covenants, section 115 through verses 3 through 6, the name of the church is important to the Lord. President Russell M. Nelson said, the church's name is a matter of great importance. Section 2, the principle of sacred sacrifice. The Lord knows exactly what we have and what we don't. Sacrifice is sacred because it proves our trust. Think of Abraham in Genesis chapter 22. God asked him to place Isaac on the altar. The test was never about losing. It was about showing Abraham's willingness to put God first. Now, for the saints in Missouri, most had little to nothing, driven from their homes, living in wagons, barely surviving. Yet the Lord said, quote, your sacrifice is more sacred than your increase. It's the same truth we see in Mark chapter 12, when Jesus watched the widow cast in her two mates. Others gave more in quantity, but she gave more in spirit. And Christ called her gift greater. As we go into section 3, a lesser known detail. Here's something history doesn't always highlight. In Doctrine and Covenants, section 119, when the Lord formally established tithing, it wasn't just the 10% we think of today. The commandment was to first consecrate thy property and then live in ongoing law of tithing. This was about a reset, aligning their hearts, not just their bank um, ledgers. It directly parallels in Malachi chapter 3, verse 10 in the Bible. Quote, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse and prove me who herewith saith the Lord, if I will not open you the windows of heaven. Now, this reminds me of of something that I've learned through my studies is when building the Salt Lake Temple or when building the St. George Temple, this was part of tithing. And that is just like people would give 10% of their time to labor and work. The promise wasn't financial, it was spiritual abundance. In section 4, why sacrifice feels unfair. Let me be honest, sometimes God's request feels unfair. Imagine being told to pay tithing when you're already living in poverty, or to consecrate land when you've just been forced out of the last land you owned. It almost doesn't make sense, but that's the point. Faith is plenty, is easy. Faith is is sacred. It's sacrifice. It's believing. In Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 through 13, base, parallel this when Paul says, I have learned in who whatsoever state I'm in, therewith be content. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. And that's how we need to think about this. The test of sacrifice refines us so that Christ becomes our true source of strength. Now, as we go into section 5, how does this apply to us in today's world? So, what about us? Most of us are not asking to build Zion in Missouri or lay temple cornerstones in the far west. But we are asked, will you put God first, even when it costs you? I will. Maybe for you, it's giving time to minister when you're exhausted. Maybe it's choosing honesty at work when dishonesty would be easier. Maybe it's paying tithing when money is tight. Romans chapter 12, verse 1 says, present your body a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service, close quote. To the world, these offerings look small. To God, they're sacred. Section 6, I've seen this in my own life. When there were times when I felt my offering was too small, it didn't matter. It's like, why do I even pay, you know, 10% of $30 I just made or something? It was like, but God knows our sacrifice. He knows our intent. But I learned The Lord wasn't measuring what I brought. He was measuring my heart in bringing it. And when I choose sacrifice, the blessings didn't always show up in money or success. They came as peace, as strength, and as clarity. Because Christ has already given the sacrifice, the infinite increase. All he asks from us is to sacred our sacrifice in our hearts. If this message blessed you, please hit the like, share it with someone who you think needs it. Comment below what sacrifice in your life has become sacred to you. And thank you to my monthly contributors. One of them is on here now from New Zealand. Another one is from Missouri, Jenny. Another one is from Cedar City. They have those little stars with the circles next to them. Karen and her daughter. I am grateful for each and every one of you because you're helping make this Come Follow Me lesson across the world. Remember, your sacrifice matters more to God than your increase because in the end, it is Christ's sacrifice that makes us whole. I'm going to leave you with 3 quotes or 4 that I've took out of this as my own. I post them on Pinterest today. God doesn't measure by our increase. He measures us by our willingness to sacrifice. Faith in is more sacred than faith in abundance. The Lord isn't asking for perfection. He is asking for consecrated hearts. To the world, our offering may look small. To God, they are sacred. Dennis Schleicher. I'm going to get to your comments. My friend Karen says to share is the law of consecration. That is more than tithing. What happens to this today? Love those sections. Just finished reading them. Paying tithing when we don't have enough, uh, a lot of faith. It also brings great blessings. Yes, it does, Karen. My friend in Cedar City, Jenny, hello. And happy Sabbath to you all. I got all of your comments. This was a short one today, but I'm fine with that. It's less than 14 minutes. So you go enjoy your Sabbath. We just had a linger longer. Had my first apple cider of the season, which I love apple cider. And we also had these um, Nature Valley wafers. Oh my gosh, they were so good. I'm still eating it, and I'm going to eat the rest on my drive home. So enjoy your Sabbath, and thank you so much. Bye for now.